Dear students, a very warm welcome to all of you in this English class. I am Anjali Yadav and we'll take up chapter 3, Gopal and the Hilsa fish. Today's class is going to take you down the memory lane to your loving comical characters. But before that, let's see what will be our learning outcomes after the class. The learning objectives of today's session are to understand and identify comedy as a genre of writing, to identify and assess main ideas and message given by the story, to express ideas clearly in correct English, to read fluently and enrich vocabulary, and critically analyze the characters. Now, before we read the story, can you identify the characters given in the pictures? Yes, you guessed it correctly. The first picture is of Chacha Chaudhary and the second picture is of Vikram from Vikram Betal. So dear students, where did you come across these pictures? In a television serial or through a comic book? Now, do you know what a comic book is? A comic is a storybook that explains a story with the help of photo gallery. You find pictures of different characters having their dialogues. Spider-Man, Vikram Betal, Panchtantra and Archies are some of the well-known comics. The story that we are going to read today is placed in the kingdom of Krishnanagar in Bengal. There once lived a king named Krishna Chandra. Among his courtiers, his favorite was Gopal the jester. Do you know who a jester is? A jester was a man employed in the court of kings and queens to amuse people by telling jokes and funny stories. Jester spells as J-E-S-T-E-R. So Gopal was a jester whose intelligence would often come to the king's rescue when he was in tough situations. The jester's guidance was quite valuable to the king. Let's read out the story and find out what challenge was given to Gopal and did he succeed in his mission and how. Once it was the season of Hilsa fish in Krishnanagar. Everybody was talking about one thing and that was Hilsa fish. The fishermen only caught Hilsa fish for the fishmongers wanted nothing else. Why? Because the people would not buy anything other than Hilsa fish during the season. The Hilsa fever spared no one. It gripped everyone in Krishnanagar, right from the householder to the courtiers. Fishmongers are the sellers of fishes. Now, what is the difference between fishermen and fishmongers? Fishermen catch fishes from water and fishmongers sell those fishes. Now, dear viewers, you must be wondering about Hilsa fish. Hilsa fish is a species of fish found in fresh water. It is usually found during the monsoon season. Hilsa is often termed as the queen of fishes. Now, the court of Krishna Chandra was no exception. The courtiers kept on talking about Hilsa fish and one of the courtiers said, "Your Majesty, you should have seen the huge Hilsa fish I caught." It was. The king interrupted the courtier before he could finish his dialogue, as he was tired of listening about the Hilsa fish. The king ordered everyone to stop it and asked the courtiers, "Are you a courtier or a fisherman?" The courtiers got scared and they fell silent with downcast eyes. Downcast means looking towards the ground. It is usually done because you are feeling sad or embarrassed. When your parents scold you for some mistake, you avoid making an eye contact by downcasting your eyes. Now the king felt sorry for raising his tone and accepting that he got angry because everybody had been talking only about the Hilsa fish, and not even Gopal can stop anyone from talking about the fish. But Gopal interrupted the king and said, "Oh, I think I could, Your Majesty." The king then made an announcement to buy a Hilsa fish and to bring it to the palace without anyone talking about it. Gopal, the jester, accepted the challenge. A few days later, we see how Gopal prepared himself by half shaving his head, smearing himself with ash, and wearing torn clothes. Smearing means spreading something over a surface. Now, Gopal's wife, who had noticed everything, questioned him repeatedly why he was doing such things and what was wrong with him. However, Gopal didn't have time to explain his plan and kept on telling his wife that he was just going out to get a Hilsa fish. The wife then pointed out at his ragged clothes, but Gopal didn't pay any attention to her. She clearly thought that Gopal had gone crazy. Gopal bought a Hilsa fish and made his way to the palace. On the way, people started pointing at him and laughed at his comical appearance. People began calling him different names. Some called him a madman and others called him a mystic. Do you know who a mystic is? A mystic is a person who believes in supernatural elements. However, Gopal didn't object to all of this as this was his plan. When he finally reached the palace, the guards asked him what he wanted. Gopal said he wanted to see the king. However, the guards denied his entry after taking a look at his shabby appearance. After he couldn't go in, he started singing and dancing loudly at the palace gates. Inside the palace, the noise of the commotion was causing great discomfort to the king. He finally ordered to come in. When Gopal came inside the palace, everyone was astonished to see him like that. The courtiers started whispering among themselves. The king demanded an explanation for his ridiculous fashion. Gopal, however, told the king that he had forgotten something. When the king asked him what he had forgotten, Gopal explained that even though he was carrying a Hilsa fish with him, no one was asking him about it. Instead, everybody was discussing about his appearance. The king laughed and praised him for his wit. He also congratulated him for achieving the impossible task. So, dear students, what did you learn from the story? We learned that we should never lose our calm in adversities, even after considerable provocation. Gopal proved that if we decide to do something, then nothing can stop us from achieving our feat. Now, we'll once again see the new words that we have learnt in the lesson. Fishmonger, a person who sells fishes. Jester, jester is a man employed in the court of kings and queens to amuse people by telling jokes and funny stories. Householder, the head of the house. Downcast is disheartened. Smearing, smearing means spreading on a surface. Disgraceful is shameful. Rags, shabby, torn and worn out clothes. Comical, comical means funny, cartoon-like. And mystic is a person who believes in supernatural and spiritual truths which are beyond the intellect. Ridiculous, it means silly. Now let's discuss about the main character of the story. And do you know who is the main character? Yes, the story has one main character and that is Gopal. Gopal was a courtier in the palace of the king. He was known for his bravery and boldness. He was not scared of taking up any challenge and he understood that people would discuss whatever is new. He also knew that it is very easy to distract anyone with weird things and behavior. He applied that idea. He shaved half of his face and smeared ash all over it. He wore torn clothes and bought a big fish. People said that he looked comical, and his wife assumed that he had become mad. Someone confused him for a mystic. At the gates of the palace, he cried and danced until the guards informed the king about the strange incident. Once he went inside, people discussed the man in the strange appearance and not Gopal with a big fish. Gopal is a simple and a grounded person. By doing the challenge, Gopal suggested that he would do anything to help the people of the kingdom. Gopal had strong values, which is why he was the king's favorite. Now, the story has various themes woven into it. The most important ones are that everything is possible. Gopal achieved absolute success at the challenge. No one thought he could win with the sheer wit. Gopal was intelligent and calculative. He understood the nature of the people he was surrounded with and knew the ways in which he could find success in his feat. The second theme is that we should always be open to challenges. Gopal was a courtier and certainly appointed at a high rank. There was no reason for him to take the challenge and collect attention negatively. However, he dressed most peculiarly and won the challenge. Hence, we learn that we must not run away from challenges. Now, we'll see what we have learnt from the story. Now, I'll ask you a few questions. My first question is, why did the king want no more talk about the Hilsa fish? The second question is, what did the king ask Gopal to do to prove that he was clever? Third question, what three things did Gopal do before he went to buy his Hilsa fish? Fourth question, how did Gopal get inside the palace to see the king after he had bought the fish? And the last question is, explain why no one seemed to be interested in talking about Hilsa fish which Gopal had bought. Now think about the answers in your mind and let's discuss the answers to these questions. So the first question was, why did the king want no more talk about Hilsa fish? The answer to this question is, the king wanted no more talk about Hilsa fish because he did not want to waste the time of the court. The second question was, what did the king ask Gopal to do to prove that he was clever? The answer is, the king asked Gopal to buy a Hilsa fish and bring it to palace. He also should see that nobody should ask him a word about the fish. The third question was, what three things did Gopal do before he went to buy his Hilsa fish? Gopal did the following things before going out to buy Hilsa fish. Number 1, he shaved his face. Second, he smeared himself with ash. And third, he wore torn clothes. Fourth question was, how did Gopal get inside the palace to see the king after he had bought the fish? The answer to this question is, Gopal got inside the palace by singing loudly. As soon as the king heard the singing, he ordered guards to bring him inside the court. And the last question was, explain why no one seemed to be interested in talking about the Hilsa fish which Gopal had bought. Gopal's half-shaven face, smeared with ash, torn clothes attracted people's attention. Therefore, nobody talked about the Hilsa fish bought by him. Now, dear students, I have an interesting assignment for you. You have to complete dialogues between the king and Gopal. The conversation has been initiated all you have to do is to develop a conversation between the two. Imagine you are Gopal and you are telling the king about how you devised the plan. The first dialogue has been given for you. Write more dialogues on your own. Now king says, Gopal, I am quite impressed with you today. Gopal says, thank you, my lord. It is all because of your trust in me. Now the king says, what made you think of such a creative strategy? Weren't you scared? And now you all have to complete the dialogues on your own and write them down in your notebooks. My next question is, state whether the following sentences are true or false. First one, the king lost his temper easily. You have to tell whether the statement is true or false. Second statement, Gopal was a madman. Third statement, Gopal was a clever man. Fourth, Gopal was too poor to afford decent clothes. Fifth, the king got angry when he was shown to be wrong. Write down the answers in your notebooks. With this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you and have a good day.